Welcome to the GTP. My name is Scott, where we talk all things manga. I'm excited to share with you my manga haul for the month of August of over 40 volumes. And the purpose and goal of this video is not just to say, hey, I bought, Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You Volume 2, but also, what did I think about the volume as I read it? So my goal is actually to read everything I can before we shoot these videos, so that way you can get a little bit extra should you continue reading on as well if you've started the story. So with that said, I'd love to know in the comments below, what did you either read or pick up this last month, as it's great for the community to hear different tastes, different things. And many of the titles that you suggest or you share with me, I actually ended up picking them up myself and going ahead and checking out, just like this title here, Smoking. So this Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You, you guys recommended this, so I end up checking it out and I end up thoroughly enjoying it as well. So with that said, let's go ahead and we're going to start off with our usual ongoing or missing titles that I received from Viz Media. And the first thing I end up picking up from Viz Media is Marriage Toxin Volume 3. Now, what I've talked about before with this series is the artwork feels a bit like Chainsaw Man. You're following this assassin here. This lovely assassin has realized that he needs to get married to continue on the family clan. Now, it is just absolutely ridiculous. He's not very good with women and he's trying to find the perfect helpmate. Now, there's ridiculous to the point of, if you can handle a person, riding a shark to safety, then this is going to be the manga for you. But the artwork is absolutely stunning and just gorgeous in this, and it's just an entertaining ride. This is a good, like a popcorn manga where you obviously don't want to eat popcorn while you're reading. I mean, that would, stain the pages. But, the idea that, hey, I can just check my brain off and I can just go ahead and read a silly story, and that's what I feel like this so far. Nothing necessarily gripping, but it's just entertaining, and I've enjoyed the ride. So with 3 volumes in, I'm going to go ahead and continue this series, give it a couple more volumes, but so far I'm enjoying what I'm finding so far. Next up is one of my favorite ongoing series, and that is Blue Box Volume 11, and this series just does not disappoint, and it feels like each volume we're continuing now just has a bit of a cliffhanger where you immediately want to look up and find out what's going on next. Now, I've not done that, even though I really want to, and I mean, you can easily get this on the Viz app for $2.99 a month. You can read all the current chapters, as we're a bit behind from Japan, but this has just been a phenomenal rom-com / sports series, and do they like me, do they don't, and just seeing them progress, and they're actually helping each other grow. I actually get tired of these series where it feels like one person is bringing the other person down and they're not really helping each other, but this one, it's so complimentary, seeing them each achieve their dreams together and how each person is encouraging the other person, and they don't even realize it. One person is pushing themselves harder because of the other person. That other person is actually pushing themselves harder, not realizing that the reason why that other person is pushing so harder is because of them themselves. So it's just very encouraging. It's gripping. The artwork is just absolutely phenomenal. Some of the best artwork in an ongoing series right now. This takes the cake. This would be in my top 10 if you ask me, Scott, what are my top 10 ongoing series? This would definitely be one of them. Highly recommend checking out if not already, Blue Box. Now, next up is a very special reprint to me, because this was from my oldest order from Right Stuff Anime before, sadly, they were taken over, and we shall not name right now that other company. But because of that, luckily that other company is still fulfilling orders from Right Stuff Anime, and I actually ordered this entire series in 2000 or 2001? Yeah, 2001. It began 2001 in March. They did a Viz sale, and this was only $6.33. So I ordered the entire series because I just thought that was so cheap. I've heard nothing but good things, and I've now waited over 3.5 years for the final volume, but Viz finally reprinted it, and that is Maggie Volume 10. Now this series is complete. It's been hard. I think there's 37 volumes for the whole series. It's just been in my shelf collecting dust for several years, waiting for the last couple volumes to be printed. It was 2, 14, and 10, and now we are done and we can finally read the series. And one thing I had a lot of beef with Viz is, if you look at the back of their volumes where, they'll advertise, different stories here, they kept advertising Maggie, and I was just like, why are you advertising for me to pick up Maggie if you're not going to reprint Maggie? So I'm glad they finally did. this is one I'm looking forward to checking out. Now, because of all this backlog, when I first started collecting, I didn't have the backlog. This would have been read, but now we got to find a section to go ahead and put this in with everything else I'm currently reading. So there you have it. We're finally completed with Maggie. Up next is World Trigger Volume 26. Now, I've not started this series. I believe it's month to month, as we don't get the volume. I think we get 1 or 2 volumes each year. Now, this series is something that I've been wanting to read for a very long time, but as we talked about just the lovely backlog here, I've heard this has one of the best battle just arcs in any manga whatsoever. And what's really interesting, it's like a hidden gem in senses. If you look at, in Japan, their top 20, World Trigger is in their top 20 of just most popular manga that people love, but you hardly hear about it in America. So because of that, I was intrigued originally, so that's why I ordered the whole series, but then we just haven't gone to it. I waited for some volumes to be reprinted. Some of them took over 2 years to get reprinted. I think it's like volume 5 and 4, for example. Those were all reprinted, so now we're just moving through the backlog and slowly but surely whittling our way, and we'll eventually read. Next up is, I picked up Dark Gathering Volume 8. This is a series I read the first volume. It was interesting. It has a bit of a horror feel to it as you're following these 2 characters, one person that can kind of sense spirits and the other person that can kind of entrap them. And one of the main characters is a girl. She has dual pupils in each side, which I think helps her see some of these spiritual beings. And with that horror-esque feel, it just, I believe the anime already came out for it, but I have not watched the anime. This is probably the last volume, I believe, that was on my list when, we talked a bit ago from that video I made of manga hoarding of, hey, I need to slow down and start reading the series I currently have. And part of that is if there are any series I'm not currently ongoing, to not go ahead and keep picking up those volumes. So this series, until I can read the other now 2 through 8 volumes, I'm actually pausing. I don't believe I have any other volumes ordered. So we're gonna slow down on this one. Once we get through some of this backlog, the first goal for the backlog is I'm going through ongoing series I've not started yet. They're currently going. Right now, that's Death March Death Play, I think is the name of it. So I'm going through that right now on volume 8 of 11 that's currently out. I should have a review for you on that one. So that's an ongoing series of volume 12, I think, coming out in October. So because of that, we just haven't started this yet, but this is on that short list of ones that, hey, it's an ongoing series. I need to start reading those first to decide whether or not we're going to continue picking it up. Speaking of ongoing series, we're going to do this 2 more times, so I apologize. Next is Undead Unluck. This is volume 16. I just heard so many people say it's one of the best ongoing series. I've shared with you before where the first volume just didn't really grip me and I didn't want to continue, but people just absolutely love the series, so that's why we have this. And the same with Sephir of the End, Vampire Reign volume 30. I've had many people say this is a hidden gem, more of a deep cut. You don't hear many people talk about this from the Viz Media, but it's supposed to be an incredibly, this one says a free poster inside. So this is where I get my little ADD brain here, but look, this one, little spoiler, but we have this poster. Do I have any idea who these people are? No. Am I spoiling anything? No idea. But looks really cool. So that's cool. They gave us a little poster inside for this one, so if you're curious about that. But we now have 30 volumes of this. Original reason why we picked up this series was because I ended up getting most of the volumes used for, I think, around $3 a volume. So it's just so cheap, and I just have not continued the rest of the way. So with this, we got to pause on this as well and then go ahead and wait until we start reading this. Okay, next we have the lovely volume 2, From Me to You, Soulmate, the continuous sequel of the first original series. There are only 3 volumes total in this still just wonderful shoujo series. So because of that, I'm waiting till I get all 3 volumes. Then we can go ahead and read this and then hopefully just share just how wonderful the sadness, the tears, and just the heartbreaks together as we continue on and see how they wrap up the series. Next is a series that if I read it to you and try to pronounce it, I'm just going to butcher it, so I will just show you the lovely cover here. I did read this second volume here. The first volume I thought was okay as you're following these, I want to say troublemakers, but they're a problem-solving agency here. And in this agency, they go ahead and they're hunting these beasts that are just, when people are missing, they're being eaten. They're the ones that go onto the scene and go ahead and solve the case. So this duel here, the first volume was pretty good. The artwork was incredible. So because of that, I said, hey, let's go ahead and we'll pick up the second volume. Now, my only complaint with the second volume, some people might appreciate this, but I was like, oh, I just want more of the actual story, as I was a little gripped towards the end, find out what happens next. Is instead, it actually cut it short. Instead, we get this one-shot. So they decided, instead of giving us the original one-shot story of how this all came to be. Now, the one-shot story is a bit different from the original series, but it was kind of their way of being able to sell the series, where it ended up becoming serialized. So you get to actually, it was kind of neat, they did share, hey, if you want to see the original one shot that they submitted to go ahead and get the series serialized and approved, they added that to this volume. So I do appreciate that, but I didn't want that. I mean, it's almost like a third of the book is in this as a one shot. I wanted more of the main story. I paid for the main story. I did not pay for the one shot, but we got the one shot anyway. So, you know, take it or leave it on that. I'm going to go ahead and get the third volume and continue on. But so far I am enjoying it, but I am a little iffy. It hasn't gripped me yet. It feels like it's more the same what we have with other series that are currently going on. So I'm just waiting to see what makes this unique. What's going to make this series stand out compared to everything else that's going on through Viz Media. All right, next I picked up is Dan to Dan Volume 8. This is just such a crazy series. I mean, just look at the back cover here. I love all the colors. I think the anime is just going to do extremely well just to seeing all the colors unfold for this series here. As you're following these two main characters, one person believes in aliens, the other person believes in ghosts, and they go to disprove each other, finding out that actually aliens and ghosts both exist. So it's, I believe one of the editors from Chainsaw Man, this is their series here. It does just have a lot of wacky and crazy elements here. For example, the cursed object is a pair of underwear. So there is some craziness there. It does have this lovely parental discretion advice. This is definitely not for kids, but it is ridiculous, like someone riding a shark with marriage toxin. This has these ridiculous moments as well, and has a lot of haha, just hilarious moments. Just very funny. The artwork is incredible. If you are into that type of genre, I think you're going to enjoy this ride. Again, I believe more people are going to pick this up. My guess this series is going to blow up once the anime is released. Now, if you ask me, Scott, what is one of your favorite ongoing series that would be actually higher than Blue Box, which might hurt some people's feelings, but for me, that is Komi Can't Communicate, and I still can't get enough of the series. I'm very sad as they recently announced that we are now on the final arc of Komi, and it just has a near dear place in my heart. It's just so cozy, the feels, the vibes. Many laugh out loud moments. I'm still laughing. We're at volume 30. I'm still finding antics that I just find are so funny, and I just so much enjoy this series. So it's definitely for a teen audience. There are some things there it's definitely not for kids. It even says it's rated 14, and I would agree with that. Now, I did have a parent talk about how they didn't feel comfortable with the series, so this is why I always recommend, this was from when I did my review, is, hey, read the first couple volumes for yourself. If you're looking to get manga for your kids, that is going to be up to your discretion, what you think their maturity level is, what you think is age appropriate for that person. And you know, some things that I actually wouldn't do as a parent, other people approve, and so that's going to be between you and your kids on what you think that they're ready for. So with that said, on any manga, I always recommend read the first couple volumes for yourself, and then after that you can have that conversation with your kids. Now, with this series, there's actually 2 volumes that I did not let my near 13-year-old daughter read, because there's some things that I just did not feel comfortable with. And then later on, as she gets older and she reads those volumes, we can explain and have a dialogue together on what those things are. So that just gives you a heads up on there. For all my manga, I actually will read it first, even ongoing series that they can read, and then that gives me the opportunity to have a conversation with them if I need to, or let them know even if they can read that series. There's one series that came out that the first volume was great, and then I read the second volume and I was like, oh, they're definitely not reading this series now. This took a complete different direction. We'll actually talk about that series in just a little bit. Next up is volume 10 of Help. We're almost done with this series. There are 12 volumes total. This has just been an incredible ride. If you're looking for a good short manga series, this is one you're gonna want to check out as you're following this the main character who's not even in this one, Help. And then our lovely Help, the demon world ended up, the Demon King was destroyed. So what do the demons do? Well, you have a tournament to find out who's going to be the next ruler. And with that is this character called Help, who's actually a human that goes to the tournament and ends up winning the thing. So it's very interesting seeing the dynamics. I don't want to give spoilers away, but it has just been a phenomenal journey. It's been a great story. And man, as we're gearing towards the end, there's been some twists and turns that I did not expect. And I can tell it's coming to just a great conclusion as we're on this final epic battle. So it's been a very fun series. There's been some good funny moments in it and just the action sequences. So if you're looking for something like that, again, only 12 volumes. This is one I highly recommend. I think on my anime list, it's 8.33 or something. So it's very highly rated by others as well. So I'm very glad that Viz took the risk here and was willing to go ahead and bring this over in English. So with 12 volumes, you should give them your support as well. I think this is one you're going to thoroughly enjoy. All right, speaking of popcorn series, just like the Marriage Toxin, this is another one, and this is Record of Ragnarok Volume 11. And the ridiculous in this is that our battle warrior now is Buddha. Apparently this is what Buddha likes. He also loves suckers. He also likes to blow bubblegum. But this is now Buddha fighting another champion. So I don't want to give spoilers on what's going on with that. But if you're looking for a series that is just pure battle, and then you see behind the scenes of those characters on what brought them to be who they are before the battle, this is a series for you. As every manga, it's about 2 to 3 volumes, it's each battle, and you just get to follow that. Now we're up to 22 in Japan, which I was absolutely shocked. And I'm like, how are we only at 11 here in English? But I'm not going to complain because I'm glad that Viz is bringing this out to us. I just want to be at a little faster pace. But I mean, we're getting, it seems like every 2 or 3 months now, so I don't know how much faster they can get. But yes, Record of Ragnarok, if you're looking for just a battle series as you're seeing the humans fight the gods to determine whether or not Ragnarok is going to happen and the earth is going to stay, or if the humans are just going to perish. So it's been a very interesting, it's just funny, it's just ridiculous. If you're tired but you want to read something and just, you know, check your brain out, this is a series you're going to want to read. All right, next up is actually one of my favorite series that actually came out this year, and I was actually surprised when I looked online. I didn't realize that this author actually has another series called Kasame. I'm probably saying it wrong, but we'll have a picture up so you can look. But this is a series that I've been dying for KODANSHA to take that series out of digital jail or somebody else to rescue it. But I was surprised to see, oh, this is their next series, and that is Steel of Celestial Shadows. My jaw dropped in this volume. The artwork is just absolutely breathtaking, absolutely gorgeous in this. It's definitely not for kids, for older teens, but this is a very unique story as you're following the samurai who wants to be a samurai, but the problem is he can't touch metal. Anytime someone tries to go cut him with metal, it ends up like a polar magnet just pushes away. And just seeing his anguish, he just didn't really have anything to live for until this one woman came into his life and gave him hope. And then she was quickly taken away, and now you're following his journey as he's trying to get her back. And just full of surprises each volume. I'm gasping. I'm at the edge of my seat. It's one of those stories I just cannot put down. This will easily be probably my number 1 or 2 for this. We'll have another series to talk about as well. This would be my number 1 or probably number 2 of my top 10 best series that came out this past year. This is one I highly recommend you've got to check out if not already, Steel of Celestial Shadows. All right, speaking of series that I thought was fine for at least my daughter, who's almost 13, I let her read the first volume, but after reading the second volume, I said, no, that you are not going to be reading this series, at least right now, and that is Snowball Earth. This is rated for older teen, but this, you know, we have the guy walks into a room and just so happens that some girl is just topless. You're like, oh, well, okay, wasn't expecting that. Don't know if I want her reading that right now, and then some other things with language, and then I'm like, oh, there's more death than I realized. So a bit violent, but if it reminds me of almost like an Evangelion meets Kaiju number 8. That would be the best way I feel like this combining in, but it doesn't have as much of the psychological elements with Evangelion, but you're following this main character as a pilot. This character here, he doesn't think that highly of himself, and he wants to have friends, and he's at least trying. He's not as sad as Shinji was in Evangelion, but so very good second volume. This series will probably be this. Yeah, I believe this will be in my top 10 of new series that come out this past year. It was in my top 10 that I was looking forward to. So a good second volume. I'm looking forward to third volume. Luckily, it's coming out this year as well. And then I will probably have a better grasp on this series. But if you're looking for the series, this main character, he goes to save the day. He comes back to Earth and discovers that the world is now completely frozen. And you're discovering this mystery of what exactly happened. Trying to see how people are surviving now. So if you're looking for kind of this kaiju battle with the humans, some little different mech going on here, and then just seeing the character as he's trying to develop the mystery behind who's good, who's bad. So good second volume. I'm looking forward to continuing this series as well. All right, next we're going to go ahead and move on to ongoing or missing titles that I received from KODANSHA. And I know what you're saying. Whoa, Scott, you are missing a section. Every manga haul you have ever done, our next one is ongoing or missing titles from Yen Press. Where is the Yen Press? That is a great question. If you'd like, I'd like to ask Crunchyroll too. Oh, I said those who not be named. I apologize, I did say it. Where is our Yen Press stuff? So I've actually switched over. You'll see in a video soon in the future where we're now ordering most of our stuff from Manga. They have done a great job of shipping things on time. Where Crunchyroll, I've actually recently, sadly, I've had orders where even though it's out on every other distribution place, from Manga to Barnes & Nobles to Amazon to even at your local Target or Walmart, for some reason they do not have them. There's things that have came out even months ago and they're just now shipping some of those titles, and I'll show one of them in a bit. So because of that, we don't have for this month ongoing or missing titles from Yen Press. But sadly, hopefully with me now switching more over to Manga, I'll be able to have those for you. I guarantee, I know I'll have some ongoing missing titles from Yen Press for you next time. So sorry about the little rant. I know you're now onto the KODANSHA section. Some of you might just click on for KODANSHA, but you heard me rant about Yen Press. I apologize, but let's go ahead and talk about some KODANSHA. First, Eden 029. This is a series from the same person that gave us Fairy Tail and Rave Master. Now this series is just finished, so for how affordable and cheap it is, because we're so close to the end, I end up buying most of the volumes already from a lovely Right Stuff Anime sale. Oh, sorry, there's no more Right Stuff Anime, so a little grievous in our heart here, but so because of that, I just continued on picking up. I have not started the series yet. I started watching the anime and I liked it, and I said, oh, if I'm going to pick one of his series, Rave Master extremely out of print, hard to get. Fairy Tail extremely long, just Power of Friendship I hear, and wasn't the greatest at the end, and now it's even continuing going on now with this 100-year quest. So because of that, I said, if I'm going to pick one of the author's stories, let's go ahead and go with Eden Zero. So I went with the sci-fi route here. I've not started yet. This is on that short list of ones because it's still ongoing technically, but there's only a few more volumes, so I figured let's go ahead and just keep on going. Next up is one of my also favorite ongoing series currently right now. Is just many laugh out loud moments, just enjoyable, and that is Welcome to Demon School. This is volume 8. This is a series where you follow this main character as a human who parents sell him to a demon, and then that demon ends up, you find out, instead of wanting to eat the human, it ends up falling in love and treats him like he's his grandchild. And because of that, now here's this human who's now having to pretend to be a demon, and of course he has to go to school to learn all the demon antics. So it's just very, very funny. It's very, very silly. Just like a small thing in the first volume is the demons, they end up able to summon a monster, their familiar, that helps them in battle so they can all summon. But you find out that humans actually can't summon monsters. Instead, they will summon a demon, and then that's supposed to be their master. So what happens is, you know, as he's trying to do his summon as a human, he just gets the closest thing that's next to him, and it's his teacher. So now his teacher is his master, even though his teacher is very mean, and the last person he wants to summon, he's actually scared of summoning him because he knows how upset his teacher is when he does it. So just very, very funny, entertaining. In this story here, they end up going to an amusement park. So if you're looking for it, it has a bit of that slice of life elements, but just more laugh out loud, just kind of zany craziness. It's just a very funny manga, wholesome moment. So I've thoroughly enjoyed this so far. Now I do want to forewarn you, there's over 30 volumes in Japan, which you're like, oh, 30 volumes. So I wouldn't even be surprised if eventually KODANSHA does like a 3-in-1 treatment for this. But man, I gotta say, I absolutely love this volume here, especially the colors, how this all turns in. I'm enjoying this series. My daughter's enjoying the series as well. It's just very, very funny. Highly recommend checking out if you've not already. All right, next up is a series that I have not started, sadly, but I've heard so many good things. I got the first 6 volumes, I think, on a really good sale, and we just continue on. So this one we're pausing as well, which probably sounds blasphemy because I know how many people love this series, but this is A Sign of Affection. So following this girl who is deaf and falling in love with this person here, I wish I had more of the series. This is on that short list again, as I talk about series that I need to start reading, where I'm doing with Death March Death Play right now. This is on that list as well. Hey, these are ongoing series. Let's go ahead and catch up, because I'm supposed to be picking up ongoing series so we can talk about it. So this is on that short list as well. And you might be saying, is there anything else kind of on that short list? There's one that's kind of sorta, and that is To Your Eternity Volume 20. Now, I've read through Volume 12. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I just stopped reading as I heard the next arc was not as good. So, but I need to pick it up. I need to continue. I mean, it's got only 8 volumes, so this is one we're going to be pausing as well after Volume 20. It's from the same author that gave us A Silent Voice, which I did a review for. I absolutely love that series. So this one, I have a feeling the second arc probably hopefully got better. So I need to go to, as you're following this the main character, 1 through 12, highly recommend checking out. If it ended on there, it'd probably be in my top 20, but I don't know what the next arc as they move towards the future. So if you're looking for a story, you're following the main characters, he's trying to, you know, understand what it's like to be human, understand civilization, and when someone dies, he's able to reincarnate as that person and now has their abilities. It's just there's a lot of sadness in it, there's a lot of reflection in it, so it was very, very good seeing it. The artwork was impressive, so I thoroughly enjoyed the first 12 volumes. I just need to go ahead and pick up and find out how the series continues. Scott, is there another series we're pausing on? There is another series we're pausing on. I believe this is the last one. This is the Shangri-La Frontier Volume 12. I got the first, I think, 7 volumes super cheap. This is on that short list. I think I'm really gonna like this one because it's like an MMO RPG feel. We're in this world. I loved RPGs growing up. I played too much MMOs when I was younger, so because of that, I think there's a lot of that nostalgia. I think I'm thoroughly going to enjoy this series. So, but this is just on pause as well, so until we read these volumes, I'm not going to continue to pick it up, even though I know a lot of you guys are reading this series and just say, hey Scott, it's amazing. And the last series, hopefully, I think on that list, and this is One Dance. This is Volume 9. I shouldn't be ordering any more of these. This is a series just about dance. Because I love Blue Period and that had to do about art, and yet I didn't know anything about art, I just fell in love with that series. There's a series I'm going to show you soon that I didn't know anything about that topic, but it makes me weep and it's just so gripping. So this is another series of following someone who's learning dance, and there's just so many good characters in this series, and yet be able to give them all a little bit of spotlight and be able to connect with them is just such a big deal. That's just what I've heard of this series. So I need to pick up this series. This is also on that short list, so until we start reading this, there's no more of One Dance coming for any of us. Next, Scott, what is your number 2 series of all time? What's your number 2 also ongoing series of all time? Well, that's great question you ask, and that is Witch Hat Atelier. This is Volume 12, and it did not disappoint. It gripped me so much. The next volume doesn't come out till January. This is a absolutely beautiful series. You've got to check out if not already. My review for this series is my best review video. The anime is going to be coming out this fall. I believe is going to take this by storm. If you want to be ahead of the curve here, you've got to pick up this series now. It will sell out. KODANSHA already needs to start reprinting, because this is one of the best series I've ever read. A 10 out of 10. Absolutely beautiful. You're following this main character who's not in this one here. Her name is Coco, and just this desire to be a witch. And then you find out very early on that actually anyone can be a witch. You're not just born with these powers, but it's actually a secret. So seeing people have these dreams that are unattainable, see these people wanting to be creative and being told you're not good enough, it's so gripping. The lore, the backstory, the artwork is just, oh, this is chef kiss material. You've got to check this out. You will not just be disappointed. This is literally one of the best series there's others. My number one series, I can definitely see some people not liking it, but this one, I don't understand why anyone wouldn't. This one, it's rated for 10 plus. My son and my daughter absolutely love the series as well. I'm so grateful for this, to finally have this volume. This is one of those series that thanks CR didn't ship me, even though it came out in May. We finally got it like less than a few days ago, so I read it right away. Again, highly recommend. Go watch the anime trailer. It's just absolutely breathtaking. You're gonna want to read this if not already. Witch Hat Atelier. All right, next series I picked up was Volume 5 of Tsugumi Project. Now this felt like it's almost like we're towards the end of the series already. I'm like, oh, did it get canceled? Is it on hiatus? And then I looked and was like, oh, it's actually complete with only 7 volumes. So this is a post-apocalyptic world, as you have this main mercenary who's from France. He's going in and he's now into this destroyed Japan with radiation and just trying to figure out what's going on. Creatures have mutated over the last couple hundred years, and where they're now able to communicate and talk, and just some weirdness going on. The mystery behind is he's trying to find this package. So very good. It reads very fast. So this one gave a lot of exposition, a lot of stuff. I'm like, oh, they're revealing some big stuff. That's why I'm like, is this towards the end? And then I saw it ends with 7 volumes. So I'm going to continue reading it because it's 7 volumes. I'm enjoying it. There are some moments where I wanted to drop the series, and then there's other moments where I read a volume like, wow, that's really good. And that happened definitely with Volume 5, where with Volume 3-ish or 4, I was like, I don't know if I want to keep reading this, but I have a 5-volume rule, and with the 5th volume, it solidified me. There's only 2 volumes left. We're going to go ahead and finish the story, and I'll be able to wrap up and tell you whether or not the whole package together is worth it. All right, now earlier I shared with you that I actually had one other series that might be vying for that number 1 or number 2 spot, and that is none other than The Medalist Volume 3. I literally, as I read this series, I'll get tears in my eyes. That's something that Steel Slasher Shadows does not do. This series, just the idea for this girl who has this dream of wanting to be a figure skater and actually go to the Olympics as an ice skater, and being told you started too late. Most people start when they're 4 years old, and you are 9. You're too late. Most people telling her you can't afford it, you're not good enough, you're wasting your parents' money, you're wasting their time, and yet she has this dream and she has a coach. It just takes one person to believe in you, and you're seeing her just work so hard for that, and just, it's so beautiful just seeing her achieve those dreams. I think so many times in life we can be told over and over again, you're not good enough, you're not going to make it, you're not talented, you shouldn't do YouTube, you know, you shouldn't play for this basketball team, you are wasting your time. And what I gotta say is at least you can say you tried. A lot of people would say this YouTube channel is a failure, but I can at least say, hey, I tried. I gave it a genuine effort, and there's something special about that, and it only takes one person, just one person to believe in you. And we all need that one person that might see something in us we don't see in ourselves, and that's what we get with this coach here. So if you're looking for something, just an award-winning, heart-gripping series, at the first volume I was just already in tears and crying, and I'm being a grown man, I mean, but I have kids. With kids you start being more emotional. Beautiful series, absolutely love that. You've got to check this out. With only 3 volumes, highly recommend. I already see this, yeah, actually this will probably be number 1, because I already see this becoming my top 10 of all time, and we're only 3 volumes in. I am just absolutely blown away. My heart is touched every single volume. I just can't help but root for her as she's just trying to make it with the hard work she's putting in, even though at times she still is just missing the mark a bit. You just are falling in love with the characters and who they are. Highly recommend. You've got to read this. All right, next up is another series that'll probably be in my top 10, I believe. This is a series definitely not for kids, and actually was a lot more funny than I realized. This is none other than The Fable. They're luckily, KODANSHA has given us these lovely 2-in-1 volumes here, and this is about a hitman who needs to go on hiatus for 1 a year. He's just, for a whole year, where he's just too good at his job, and they need to be on the low key. So him and then this lovely girl here, who's kind of his assistant, they are kind of being low key. She's kind of bored in this town. He's just is trying to see what it's like to live an average day life, so he ends up getting just a mundane job, having to ride a bicycle and just very, very silly, even though he can be a ruthless, cold-blooded killer, but into him it's just another day, it's just another job. He doesn't really have that emotion. So, but he's trying to find out, what is that like just to be human? What is that like to be normal? Because he didn't have a normal life. So very interesting, very entertaining. I'm laughing out loud, which I did not expect, even though it's a bit of dark, the humor. So highly recommend. Definitely not for kids. This is probably 16 plus. It's one I recommend. Actually 18. This is even mature 18 plus. I agree with that. This is definitely not for kids, this story whatsoever. 18 plus, I agree with that rating here for the Fable. It's one for adults looking for some, if you're looking for more humor, something more on a different side of the Hitman series, this is one you're going to want to check out. And last from our lovely KODANSHA is another 2-in-1. This will probably also be in my top 10 of series that come out this year, and that is Initial D. This is reprinted. We never got the full series. I think only like 26 or 27 volumes came out from Tokyo Pop before they end up losing the license. Very, very good. The second 2-in-1 here is you're following this person who ends up racing. Didn't really want to be like a racer. Wasn't really into street racing. He just borrows his dad's beat up car, and you end up discovering he's actually really good just driving. He just thinks he's driving. He didn't realize he's actually a good racer. And just seeing the races unfold, seeing the main character already grow in his personal development, and he just wants the freedom. He actually is envying people for just having a car, even though it's not really good as racing. He just wants that freedom of having something of his own. So I've really enjoyed it here. Part of it, you're like, oh, it's just another race. Can we move on to more stuff here? But it ended up getting better towards the end, where I do want to know what's going to happen next. At the end of the second volume, a race went on. It was really good. And then we go on here and we're like, oh, another race. And I don't know if it's going to be 40 volumes of race after race after race after race. I'm hoping you'll see some more downfall for that, or just seeing more of them outside of the races itself. But I very much enjoyed it. It is an oldie but a goodie. I'm very grateful for KODANSHA giving us Initial D and taking that. I think there's like almost 40 volumes with the whole series. So for KODANSHA willing to take that risk and start giving us these 2-in-1s, hats off onto them. If this can go ahead and come back from the dead, that means there's many other series that we hope, like we talked about Raidmaster earlier, KODANSHA could bring out in print as well. So thank you so much, KODANSHA. I'm thoroughly glad you brought us Initial D. Let's go ahead and now move on to ongoing or missing titles that I received from smaller publishers. The one I showed you earlier, and this is Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You. You follow this middle-aged salaryman who, just after a hard day, the one thing that just brings a smile to his face is when this particular one girl at the supermarket that just gives him a smile, and it makes his day after all the hardship. So he ends up meeting this other girl here who also works at the supermarket, who smokes. I don't want to give any spoilers. And then he ends up just enjoying cigarettes with her. They do let you know that cigarettes are bad and you shouldn't be smoking. It's not a good habit. So I do appreciate it's not encouraging people to smoke, because it's definitely something I would never encourage as well. But just seeing them connect together, the dialogue, it's very entertaining. There's nothing that's really connecting too much of a major arc, which I'd love to see. Instead of it just seems like everything's almost separate right now, where you probably wouldn't need to read too much of the first volume to be able to immediately pick up the second volume and what's going on. But I'm enjoying just seeing their relationship together, seeing them kind of kindle, and maybe there's going to be something, maybe there's not, and just seeing that this main character just very dense, where he probably wouldn't notice if someone liked him if it slapped him in the face. And then this girl is just finding things just a bit entertaining, and just sensing that actually he is a kind guy. He actually is kind of caring, even though he doesn't think much of himself. So I'm enjoying seeing it so far. If you're looking for a series that is more geared towards adults, of adults just having regular connections and dialogue, not following high school antics, or kids, or even college, just seeing actually adults live through life, going through the mundane and finding little moments of happiness as they're just living their life, this is a series for you. Speaking of some of my favorite series of all time, in my top 10, and none other than Skip and Loafer. This is volume 9. Phenomenal series. This is a series that actually made me want to be a better person as you're following these people as they're going through high school and just seeing the different perspectives and things I didn't even realize about myself I could see in some of these characters. In this volume here, you have a boy that if you've read the series, you know he likes everybody. And the problem is he's coming across now that when he does tell a girl that he likes them, that girl's thinking like, oh, am I number 3 or 4? Are you only saying you like me or you want me to be your girlfriend because these other girls told you no? Am I just playing second fiddle here? And the problem is this person does have a heart of gold where no, he genuinely likes this person, but he's coming across as if the only reason why he likes this person is because this other person said no. And then it looks like, did you just give up? And then when he says, well, I can't like this person, they're out of my league. It's like, oh, so you have to pick somebody that's not in your league? Am I not that great? So it's just very interesting where you wouldn't realize what you're thinking. And part of it is like, you know, instead of thinking they're out of your league, if you genuinely like them, don't just necessarily give up on that. You know, maybe you are in their league. Or you could become that person if you really wanted to. So very good volume here. Beautiful stories. You're following them as they're going to the beach. I just absolutely love it seeing this story in the summer road trip. Highly recommend. In my top 10 of all time, I have a review video. You've got to check out Skip and Loafer. All right, next up is a series that would have made my top 10 of new series that came out last year when I finally got to read the first volume, thanks to Tony's recommendation from our video collaboration together, and that is Centaurs. This is volume 2. Now this story, there's only 6 volumes total. It's from Ablaze. Super fast pacing, faster than I actually expected, but you're following this series here of these centaurs versus the humans, and then the humans kind of capturing the centaurs and kind of forcing them into slavery. And even some of them, what they do is they'll go ahead and they'll even remove their arms to make them easier to tame. So very, very gripping. Definitely not what I thought was going to happen. Wow, the first volume alone just hooks you. The second volume as well is just so powerful. And now as you continue to move on the story, I don't want to give any spoilers, but this moved on almost to a faster pace than I realized that they're just keeping the story going. So I'm very excited for whenever we get volume 3. But if you're looking for a hidden gem that's a short series, you're going to want to check out Centaurs. Next up is a series. It's one of my favorite ongoing series technically that's already fully done digitally, but I now see why people would probably say that if the series ended, my guess around this volume now, it might even be in their top 20 or top 10 of all time, but then the series continued ongoing and then people didn't like where the author took it. That's none other than Tokyo Revengers. I could say that towards the end of this 2-in-1 21-22, I felt like the story could have been fully completed. I felt like, you know, they say, you know, your mission's accomplished. It felt like we got to like an ending as you're seeing all the hard work finally paid off, and then towards the end it's like, but actually it's not, and there's not fully closure. And instead of just sitting there realizing that, hey, not everything in life is going to tie up a pretty bow, not everything will get you that closure. Instead of being satisfied with that, our character here now has to go on, now it seems like, one final mission. And my guess is as we continue reading, maybe people did not like that final mission. So with that said, I think there's 31 volumes total, so I know there's only gonna be like 10 more volumes or so here. I mean, these are 2-in-1, so we'll see what happens. But I could definitely see, I was at the edge of my seat and I felt like this could have wrapped up. Tokyo Revengers could have wrapped up with this and I would have been satisfied, and I think most people would have been satisfied as well. This might be what I could feel probably would have been that true ending. The author did say that way even before this, he had an idea where he wanted the story to go for that true ending, which I still don't have any idea. Thank you so much for not spoiling it for me. So I love this series. I'm going to continue to find on the story from the delinquents, as you have this main character who can time travel, and then when he travels, he's trying to save this person who ends up dying in the future every time. So great series up to this point, phenomenal, would be in my top 20. Definitely. I'm interested to see how the author takes it from here and what we'll finally see of Tokyo Revengers going forward. Next up is Soul Eater Volume 15. I believe there's just one volume left of the lovely Perfect Edition. This is from the same creator that gave us Fire Force. man, after seeing this lovely Square Enix version of this instead of versus the Yen Press, I just knew I had to get it. So I got 1 volume left, and then we'll go ahead and we will read Soul Eater. And last from ongoing or missing from smaller publishers, this is Unordinary Volume 2. This is a webtoon. Now, this is from a person in America who ends up making this. She has just done a phenomenal job as you're following our lovely main character here who, you know, he's actually considered a zero. He does not have abilities, you find out. And then he's around these people who do have these abilities, and the laws and how it makes you think. It takes almost like My Hero Academia in a different route when it comes to just being at the school in the annex, and the king is whoever is the most powerful person. They get to rule the school, and it's also kind of how school real life is. And this idea of being a hero is looked shunned upon, and not necessarily like a good versus evil, but we don't need, the hero person is not needed. If you're the strongest, you can be on top. And just seeing what is it like when we change laws, and it makes these people who are really strong, it's like I'm purposely holding them back. It's very, very interesting. Made me think deeper in thought than I did. Never realized I would from a webtoon series. So I think this is a bit of a hidden gem. You're not going to see as many people talking about this series, but 1 and 2 are available in print. The series is ongoing. I know it's very, very popular on webtoon. I think this is one you're going to want to check out. It won't be on my anime list since the author is in America, but wow, I would love to even talk to the author, but it really has made me think deeply. So if you're looking for that type of series, I don't think this is one you're going to regret. You need to check out, if you're not already, Unordinary. All right, now let's go ahead and check out new to me series from Viz Media. We got 2 this time, and the first being Battle Royale Enforcer. So technically this is like part 3. I mean, part 2 I think only had a couple volumes and you don't really count it. Now I will say with the first Battle Royale series, I ended up having to drop it as it was too much for me. There's too much. It's very, very heavy. Definitely not for kids. This one's not for kids, but this one so far has been a lot more tame. Doesn't have, at least what I appreciate so far, none of the sexual assault elements that was in Battle Royale. Some of the violence, I could not stomach it, but I wanted to give this one a go so I can let you guys know my thoughts as just from a parent's perspective and like things reader. It's definitely not for kids. Extremely violent as you're following these kids in a school where they're now at a battle to the death, and whoever survives, which team, they get to go on living. So that Hunger Games feel, seeing them go out, I'd say the first volume was okay. I want to continue on to see how the series is going to continue here. Those tensions, I thoroughly will say I did immediately like this more than Battle Royale, which you'll probably think is crazy. Some people, I know so many people who like Battle Royale, but for me, it was just too much. The assault in that series is just over the top, and it made me feel ill. It was one of the few series that I actually could not continue reading. I had to drop, and I had to put down. I did have no desire to ever go back to it. Now this one here, I am enjoying it so far. It does not have those assault elements as of now. It is very violent, but I'm interested to find out how the characters develop and what's going to happen in this story. So it had a lot where it was building up to, you know, telling about what happened in the past and how we got to where we are now. So I'm interested to find out what's going to happen in the next volume. So I will continue the series from the Viz Signature line, even though, again, last thing I'm going to say is you don't have to read Battle Royale or know much about Battle Royale to enjoy this one. So hats off to that. I do appreciate it. So that is Battle Royale Enforcers. And last new to me from Viz is Fool's Night. This was a great first volume. I could see this even becoming in my top 10 of new series come out this year, as you're following this futuristic world where the world has become completely dark. So with that said, plants can't live because they don't have sunlight, but they've found a way through science that if we stick a seed into a human, that plant will absorb its soul and somehow can live that way, growing out of the human. So you see people who have decided at the end of their life to go ahead and become a plant, and you're following this main character here who just has been given a bad hand at life. Just things have been terrible. He can barely afford medicine. He's forced to take care of his mom. There's no dad in the picture, and just life is hard. And then you're seeing him where this main character now, the idea that I can get enough money to be comfortable if I just have 2 years, and he just is willing to give up his life if he has this plant, if he becomes a plant, just for 2 years of happiness. And then more tragedy comes on his life as well. And now he has a sense where he's actually now working for the government and helping people, and you get to follow him along the way. It is very emotional, is gripping, the first volume, so I very much enjoyed it. I could definitely see this being on under the radar for people, so it's one I recommend you at least reading the first volume. So I'm looking forward, definitely going to get the second volume. This was a really good first volume, Fool Night. Let's go ahead and now check out new to me series from Yen Press. And these are all thanks to our good friends at Yen Press who sent these volume 1 copies for me to go ahead and give a review. If you have not checked out already, highly recommend checking out that video where you can see more in-depth thoughts. So I'm just going to show you those volumes here, but my review video will give you more in-depth on what I thought of each one. So I'll be quick. Go Go Ghost. This is a Josei series. Very good. Highly recommend. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the second volume of that Revenge series. Next one is Miss Savage Fang. There's, I think, 3 volumes total because they didn't finish it. The manga, maybe it'll continue. So very interesting isekai series of this mercenary person who ends up being reincarnated as this woman with magic powers. Nothing gross in, but very interesting. That's the first volume. I see this becoming very popular. There's only 3 volumes. This is Aria of the Beach Forest. Beautiful artwork, more of a slice of life following this witch as she lives in modern days but in the woods. A good first volume here. Then we have Excellent Property Rejects for Residents. This is about a lovely angel here who is not the brightest candle, so it's just more of a comedy series as she's trying to help somebody who has no desire to get a job, but she wants to help him anyways, and she's just struggling at basic things. She is given a task to work on a computer and just starts, you know, breaking the computer because she doesn't know what to do. When she teleports, she gets stuck in the teleport because of her hips being too big. So silly antics if you're looking for something like that. And then we have this great 3-in-1 one-shot story of Penguin Highway. There's a movie on this originally based on the novel. I have not seen the movie, but I really enjoyed this. This is definitely a good bang for your buck. It's a very good wholesome mystery series as you're trying, this main character here is trying to figure out why all of a sudden their town is full of penguins. Very good wholesome story, highly recommend, love this. And then another series, this is my top 10 most wanted for the year. This will be in my top 10. It's a one-shot series, Your Letter. You're following this main character who ends up doing what's right, and because she ends up doing what's right, ends up starting to get bullied to the point that she ends up having to transfer school. And at this school, she ends up finding these letters, and you're on a bit of a mystery as just each letter she opens moves up to more of the mystery. So very, very good one-shot series, highly recommend. And last was I was given a novel. So I don't actually read light novels. This is actually the first light novel I've actually I've read. This is the Trials of Shinadaka, running the Supreme Court of Another World with my sister. This light novel series, it reminded me, I felt like I was watching the anime just reading it, even though I'm not a light novel person. This series is where it's an isekai where they have this copy and paste ability where they just love Japan so much, this magical kingdom, that they just keep copying things from Japan to the point where they end up changing the laws as well. But along that path of changing the laws, they also realize they need a judge now, as you have a main hero and character who's being trialed for maybe something they did or did not commit, and you're following this character here as she is that judge from Japan, is now judging this kingdom. So isekai series, again, we have more stuff on my video on those series. And last, let's go ahead and check out smaller publishers new to me, and this is My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999. This is a series that also has been out for a while that was not shipped. This came out originally in April. I finally got it from Crunchyroll. Very good first volume. I absolutely love the first volume as you're following this girl. She ends up playing this video game because she likes this boy and they do it together. Then he breaks up with her. So she's completely crushed, and then she ends up meeting this other boy here who's actually like a pro gamer, but he's not very good at social cues, and I think she might like him but doesn't like him. He wants nothing to do with her, but then they begin some kind of weird friendship, and you're just following where they do more things in the game. So very, very good first volume. I wonder if, probably the shoujo series, I wonder what's going to happen with her next with their relationship together. So very funny, good antics. Loved it very much. So that's all I have for you from my last haul. If you have any questions below, feel free to let me know. I'd love to connect with you. And like always, if you've not done so already, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Would you be part of the 27% that my YouTube antics tell me are subscribed to the channel for all my videos? My goal is to get that to 30%. So would you be part of that 3% to help us grow this channel and help it be known to more people? So that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. If you stuck to the end, I just wanted to say it personally. Thank you so much for being a part of this video and showing, just being part of showing how much this matters to you. I'm very grateful each month I can show you what I read, explain different things, and maybe help you find your next great manga. Thank you so much for watching as I lose my voice. We'll see you on the next one.